Welcome to Fontaine International's rebuild procedures for No-Slack 2 fifth wheels. This program covers 7000, C7000, and 6000 models. In the next few minutes, you'll see how easy it is to rebuild a Fontaine No-Slack 2 fifth wheel with just a few simple steps using no special tools. Our products are designed for a quick and easy rebuild to save time and money. Now let's get started. First, be sure you have purchased a genuine Fontaine repair kit, part number KIT RPR 6000L or R, depending on whether it is a left or right-hand release. 7000, C7000, and 6000 models all use this same kit. Make sure to use all of the new parts provided in the kit and discard the old. To begin, remove the top plate, degrease the underside, and place it in a work stand or on a steady work surface. Make sure the lock is in the closed position with the handle retracted. Remember to exercise extreme caution, follow all stated and customary safety procedures, and be sure to wear safety glasses. First, detach the secondary lock and bumper springs. Now remove the pull handle and check it for straightness. Unbolt the secondary lock and remove it from the operating handle. Now unbolt the bumper and remove it from the operating handle. Remove the hairpin cotter. Unbolt the operating handle at the pivot point. Remove the operating handle and check it for straightness. Next, remove the timer and the timer spring. Now, remove the jaw and wedge. Thoroughly clean the area that houses the jaw and wedge. Also, check the wedge stop rod and nut for any damage. Inspect all the parts that will be reused for excessive wear or damage. This includes the pull handle, secondary lock, operating handle, bumper, and timer. Now it is time to reassemble your fifth wheel with the new parts. Apply a moderate amount of grease to the sides and serrated edges of the new jaw and wedge. Fontaine suggests the use of a moly-based lubricant, such as Mobile Grease Moly 50 or equivalent. Insert the jaw and wedge into place. After coating with grease, install the timer and timer spring. Note the position of the timer. It should move freely towards the outside of the fifth wheel. Apply grease to the pivot mount, wedge stud, and the top of the timer. Insert the operating handle and bolt in place, making sure that the spacer bushing goes through the operating handle and pivot mount. Do not over-tighten or use an impact wrench for this procedure. Be sure to replace the hairpin cotter. The operating handle should move freely. Note the position of the operating handle. The curve in it should be facing the outside of the wheel. The locking mechanism will not work if the operating handle is installed improperly. Apply grease to the bumper where it contacts the operating handle. Hook one end of the bumper spring onto the bumper and slide it into place. Now insert the new bushing and bolt the bumper to the operating handle. The bolt must come from the bottom. You should be looking at the threads. Do not over-tighten. Attach the spring and check that the bumper moves freely. Insert the secondary lock and new bushing after applying a light coating of grease. The secondary lock is attached under the operating handle. Note the orientation of the bolt. The thread should be facing up. Again, do not over-tighten. Check for free movement. Install the pull handle and secure it with a new cotter pin. Attach the secondary lock spring. Make sure you do not attach it to the air cylinder bolt holes. Test for proper operation of the assembly by opening and closing several times. Thoroughly grease both bearing pockets. Check that grease flows through all of the grease fittings. Clean out the grease holes if necessary to allow grease into the bearing pockets. Completely reassembled, your fifth wheel is ready to be returned to service. Some Fontaine fifth wheel mounts feature greaseless bracket liners. If your model has this feature, perform a visual inspection of the liners before installing the top plate. To inspect, remove the bracket liners with a screwdriver. Visually inspect the liners and replace them if they are broken or show excessive wear. Liner thickness must be at least 1/8 of an inch at the top of the liner. To reinstall, strike the top center of the liner with a rubber mallet. Now, place the rebuilt top plate onto the mounting bracket, making sure the bracket pins on both sides are in place and secured by retainer pins and cotter pins. Insert a test kingpin, such as Fontaine Kingpin Tool MSC 712, to close the lock. Only minimal force is required to couple your No-Slack 2. Make sure the jaw and wedge are engaged behind the kingpin, and the pull handle is fully retracted. In the locked position, the pull handle should be within 1 inch of the skirt of the wheel. Now, check the wedge stop rod adjustment. Push on the wedge stop rod until it touches the end of the wedge and let it spring back. The wedge stop rod is spring-loaded and should spring back out after you push it in. This movement or free play should be 1/4 of an inch when coupled to a 2-inch kingpin. To adjust, turn the wedge stop rod counterclockwise to increase the free travel, or clockwise to reduce free travel. Turning it in too far will result in slack and cause premature wear, but any misadjustment can cause the fifth wheel to bind and become very hard to open. Now lubricate the fifth wheel. On models without bracket liners, apply grease to the 2 zerk fittings on each side of the top plate. These supply lubricant to the bracket bearings. Bearings should be greased with the fifth wheel in an unloaded condition. Rock the wheel back and forth while applying grease. Some grease should flow from the bearing pockets. If you do not see grease coming from the bearing pocket, use a crowbar to lift the top plate while applying grease. On models with bracket liners, it is not necessary to lubricate the fittings on each side of the top plate, but free rocking motion is important. If the fifth wheel does not rock freely, remove the top plate to re-inspect the liners and troubleshoot the problem. Follow the procedure outlined earlier in this presentation. For sliding fifth wheels, lightly lubricate the pivot points of the mechanism. Operate the mechanism to ensure it is functioning properly. Now it's time to lubricate the top of the fifth wheel. Apply liberal amounts of grease to the entire surface of the fifth wheel, making sure the grooves in the surface are full of new grease. Make sure you apply grease to the stationary jaw at the front of the throat. You have now completed Fontaine's rebuild procedure, and your fifth wheel is ready to give you years of reliable performance. Follow the recommended 90-day, 30,000-mile preventive maintenance schedule for maximum product life.